Okay, basically we're going to take your questions as long as you just don't ask, shouldn't you be at school?
Thank you very much. I have a question for all of you. Are there some other measurements or action that you are planning besides the protests to enlarge pressure on politicians? And I have another question. Is the three of you being here together pointing out European movements? That's it. Thank you very much.
So the first question, I was going to say something but I forgot the question.
It's a European movement, and is it a European movement?
The action.
Other measures.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we have with Youth for Climate we have an expert panel. So it are Belgian experts who look at the policy, and before May they give a climate action plan to the government with us that the politicians can then use as a reference in the after the elections of what they are going to do about the climate. Though it's a disappointment that we have to do this because it's not our job. And we are also having a digital platform for youth to come up with ideas, and those ideas we are also giving to the experts. And then the strikes as well, as it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Maybe to add, because you asked about other actions from our side to be taken. I believe many people think what we're doing is just going on strike, which means basically one Friday or Thursday morning that we are not in school or not in university. But what we're actually doing is we are making people discuss our future, whether it's at home, it's at school, is it at the sports club or at the schoolyard, in the talk shows and in the parliament. We are making people face the fact that they have been destroying our future for the last decades. And this is something which I believe is much more long-lasting than a Friday morning we don't spend at university or at school.
Maybe I can add something. We, as students, so university students, we are going to launch, we have launched yesterday, big assemblies of students where we can discuss the political issues of the climate justice, of the social rights that are involved with the climate policy that is needed. So that's also that's also something that is really important, to have a democratic debate among students, among citizens, everywhere, to really talk about these issues, because we are talking in that we need some politics, that we need some policy, but we have to talk about the politics behind it. So that's really important, to have an ambitious and socially just climate policy.
Another question.
Yeah, maybe for the European question. Obviously, on the strike today, we were with Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands, and 12,000 students of Belgium. So it's a very international given, and that's what we keep saying, that it's a global issue and that everybody should work on this. And so, I love to see how we unite, because already four different countries are here, from all generations we are here, and I think that's what we need, to unite and to work on this together. And that's the most important thing. Instead of blaming each other for the mistakes, help each other finding the solutions.
More questions?
Hello, Willem for the Belgian Mo magazine. I was wondering what has the upper hand for you guys? Hope by the results already achieved and by the massive mobilization of youth worldwide, or frustration by the inaction and tone deafness of the politicians? It's for the entire world.
I think we are scared, and that's why we're screaming in the streets. We are really scared. At least I am, and I think that all the students behind us are. I think Greta says this really well. we don't want your hope. We want you to be scared and to act, and you say really well. So I think hope is good to move on, like to achieve things. But right now we're not in hope. We are screaming because we are scared and anxious.
Do you want to talk?
You want to respond on that, Greta?
No, I think it's better.
Myriam Checher, I work for French TV François. Sorry for my English. A question for the Belgian girl. Greta has a particular place in this moment. How did you discover his message, her message?
How did I discover? So when I first saw her, when I first heard about her, like I think it was like 2 months ago, a little bit more. And so, you know, my mom told me about her. So I looked up some articles and I saw her speech. And I felt so inspired, as well did Kyra and Adelaide, which I talked to then, because Greta is showing us that, you know, however small you are, you can make a difference. And the fact that, you know, she just went up to the Swedish parliament and said, you know, I'm done because you adults are shitting on my future. Like, she literally said that. That was what we needed, you know. And it's like so brave. So I thought, you know, she said also in her speech, like, we are coming whether you want it or not. And then I thought, okay, let's go. So then, you know, we thought we should proceed this in Belgium as well.
What you are building, would it be possible without social media? What's their place in this?
Je réponds en français si vous voulez. Je pense que les réseaux sociaux et la presse nous a beaucoup aidé à faire passer notre message. Bien sûr que notre message est au niveau mondial. Parce que ça touche tout le monde sur cette planète. Donc évidemment que sans les réseaux sociaux, je pense que ça aurait été beaucoup plus lent et je ne sais même pas où ça aurait été donné. Mais en tant que jeune, on montre aussi qu'on nous appelle toujours la génération sur nos GSM, à jamais regarder dehors. Et ben voilà, nous on a utilisé les réseaux sociaux d'une bonne manière pour rassembler tous les jeunes, pour créer une solidarité et faire passer un message et faire passer notre inquiétude.
Yeah.
Hi.
Wacht, Nick,
You're here meeting for the first time, and you've been marching with 8,000 students today to we're in the halls of power of Europe. What's your message to the politicians in Brussels, and why do you think it's so hard for them to put green politics into action?
Greta, you want to do this?
What did you know, maybe? Maybe do you want to talk about the numbers you mentioned?
No?
No? You can answer.
Okay, so we've been to the European Parliament, the Waals Parliament, and the Flemish Parliament. And what we still see a lot, or at least what I still saw, but you as well, is that a lot of politicians just blame each other for the mistakes. And when they come up with solutions, they just break it down because of the particracy.
Particracy.
Because of the particracy in Belgium, I think it's a really big problem. And I think that climate change is a really big problem, and we should take action, but not within the parties. We should look beyond it. Everybody should work together. It doesn't matter if you're a socialist or liberalist or whatever. You have to work together on this issue, and that is something I think that is holding lots of politicians back. And also, I do not see the urgency in them, and I see that we are panicking more about their policy than they are, because I asked some of our climate ministers, like, am I gonna have a normal future like you did if we go on at this rate? And they were surprised, and they said, yes, of course, what are you talking about? So the thing, you know, when they say things like that, I see that they don't get what it is about.
Maybe what I think sums it up quite nicely. Greta recently talked about our house that's on fire. And I think what we're seeing right now is that everyone is looking at the fire, continuing with business as usual, and not starting to put the buckets of water on the fire because everyone says that China's bucket is bigger. And that is not how any fire has ever been ended.
Vraag in het Nederlands voor Anuna van VTM Nieuws. Anuna, steeds in het begin van de vertoning heel chaotisch, omdat de dag vandaag lijst heel veel pers hier werd gestuurd. Tot bij momenten heel chaotisch. Zijn jullie erop voorbereid dat dit nog groter gaat worden, dat dit de volgende keer misschien nog meer uit de hand gaat lopen? Hier beter voorbereid?
Ja, ik denk dat het goed is dat de politie direct gekomen is en dat het zo wel in orde was. Allee, er is niks erg gebeurd of zo. Maar ja, we hadden het natuurlijk niet verwacht. Maar ik vind het geweldig dat het zo groot was. Dus dat maakt ook gewoon een keisterk statement. En ik hoop dat het ook gewoon keigroot blijft en dat het nog groter wordt. Maar er zijn veel mensen die zich zorgen maken over dat de protesten te groot worden en dat er problemen gaan komen en dat ze gaan beginnen vechten en vuil achterlaten. Maar het is al de 7e keer dat we met duizenden door de straat hebben gewandeld en we horen altijd van de politie van we hebben nog nooit zo'n respectvolle en propere marsen gehad als die van jullie. Elke keer opnieuw. Dus ik zou me daar niet te veel zorgen over maken.
Ja, doe dat maar.
Okay.
Maar Kyra wil daar ook iets op zeggen.
Ik wil graag nog iets toevoegen over dan, de hectische mars vandaag. Wij vinden het allemaal echt geweldig dat het zo hard in de media komt, want dat is de bedoeling om onze boodschap verder te verspreiden. Alleen vonden we het iets jammer dat het niet op een vrij respectvolle manier is verlopen. En we zouden toch willen vragen om ervoor te zorgen dat op de volgende marsen het toch met iets meer respect wordt gedaan. Ja, het gaat over de pers.
I'm from Swedish television, and I wonder if it's okay to ask Greta a question in Swedish.
Ja, visst. Vi talar alla svenska
Alla
här.
talar svenska?
Ja.
Fantastiskt.
Ja. Swedish television.
Greta, vi var på demonstrationen tidigare idag. En väldigt mäktig känsla måste jag säga. Och jag bara undrar lite grann, hur känner du dig när du står mitt i detta enorma folkhav? Folk ropar Greta och skriker när du kommer helt enkelt. Hur känns det för dig?
Det känns väldigt konstigt såklart. Ja, man kommer nog aldrig vänja sig vid den känslan. Och fast det är för en bra anledning får man tänka. Att det kan bli väldigt hektiskt, men det får man stå ut med.
Känner du att det leder någonstans?
Ja, om det är så här hektiskt, att de är ju det på grund av en anledning, på grund av klimatet och det betyder ju att och det är något positivt att folk börjar vakna upp och inse allvaret i situationen.
This is the best moment in my life. I can show everyone that I speak Swedish because I can translate if you want. So the question was, what was the feeling it being so hectic here? And Greta said, well, it was pretty intense, but for me it's wonderful to know that it's for such a positive and important cause. More or less what you said, wasn't it, Greta?
Yeah.
Wij roepen op om dan in de voormiddag alle lokale Youth for Climate om een mars te organiseren daar. Die vertrekt op een plein, maakt niet zoveel uit waar. Dat dan ze marsen naar het station om dan daar de trein naar Brussel te pakken, waar dus Youth for Climate International, dus Anuna, ik, Adelaide, daar een grote mars in Brussel gaan organiseren.
I'm actually in touch, and like we, as German Fridays for Future, we're in touch with young people from Italy and Portugal, I believe. Maybe other countries, but I wouldn't know about that. And we are always skill sharing and telling them what to do. I just recently got a text from someone in Turkey and from Lithuania who are wanting to start climate strikes over there. So we're giving our very best to continue with capacity building across Europe, and in particular in countries which aren't already flooded with strikes.
As well, Spain contacted me also to start the strikes.
And if you want to know names, maybe you just approach us afterwards.
Okay.
Yes. Just a question for Greta first. I just wanted to know if it was easy for you the press, because it's really something different for you. At the beginning of the culture strike, you were alone, and now there is so many people around you, and we saw it during the march, so many questions. And is it okay for you to manage this? And this is also a question for the
When I am in there surrounded by press and all these people, I kind of press the off button. I'm like turn down the system, if that's how you say it. But I don't, because if I would, I have Asperger's and I'm very sensitive, and if I would take all that in, I wouldn't be able to handle it. But I just shut it off. And you? Yeah.
If you ask, like, when you started alone and now so many people are there, I think we were never alone because we had Greta from the start. And also, I think it's amazing that now, as you say, everybody's striking, because that was the point anyway, so.
Yeah, exactly. We were not alone from the start, and this is starting to get bigger and bigger. It started to get international, and we just hope that we will just never be alone, and that everyone will join us, because this is a global message and a global. We are scared for everyone on this earth.
But is this really easy to manage? Because it's completely a change in your life, I suppose.
I think people are surprisingly good in adapting, unfortunately also to bad policies. But I think this is maybe a new normal. What I think is weirder in a sense, and what I believe each of one experienced it in one or the other way, is how personal suddenly the discussion gets. While we are out there wanting people to discuss climate, they suddenly discuss what kind of shoes we wear, or where our water comes from. So that's I think an odd development. It's very far away from what we are intending to point out. I think that's weird in a sense.
Okay.
Hi, this is Milan from Vice again. Let's go back to climate. What would each of you change if you were in power?
My biggest 2 points are public transport and meat industry.
If I were in charge, I would tell the truth, the emergency of the situation, and what we need to do, and what we need to do to try to save what can be saved, and how fast that must be, and how big the transition must be, and also trying to spread facts to make people aware, because I think that's a key, to make people aware. Because most people I talk to, they don't have even the basic knowledge about the climate crisis. They don't know what the Keeling curve is. They don't know what the albedo effect is, and that is absurd that people don't know those things. So I would tell the truth and treat the crisis as a crisis, because today politicians, when they talk about the climate crisis, they always say it's one of those problems among other problems that needs to be fixed. But it's not like that. It's so much more than that. It's an existential crisis, and which threatens our existence and our civilization. And that is not just one of the questions, one of the topics. You can debate it today. It's not up for debate. It's fact. And either we limit the warming to 1.5, or we don't. So we need to speak the truth and treat the crisis as a crisis.
I would just change the system, because the system that we now have doesn't work. So I think it needs to be different.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to do. I would start by acting, and then I want it to be able for everyone to travel in Europe by train and not by plane, because that's just crazy when you want to take a train and it's just like way more expensive than a plane, and that's just telling people to go pollute. And we cannot continue living in a society that tells us to take the plane, that encourage us to pollute. So let's start acting.
I like the acting. Two things. We've got a carbon budget, bottom line, and for this we need to stop burning coal, oil and gas, and remain within this limit of the carbon budget. And also we're currently living in systems where it's cheaper to destroy the planet and more convenient to destroy the nature around us, which is so absurd it's difficult to grasp, I believe. So what we need is a world where it's the most convenient, cheapest and comfortable thing to protect our ecosystems and our planet. I don't believe that's easy, but no one ever said that, I guess.
Luisa, you just said gas. The EU is currently selling green energy as like renewables and gas. What do you guys think about that?
We need to stop burning coal, oil and gas to remain within the carbon budget, and building new fossil fuel infrastructure today is as obviously quite naive, I guess, because this is not something we can do in the future.
Okay.
I'd like to ask a question, especially to Greta. How do you foresee the future if we don't do anything? And how do you feel about this?
I don't know. And I think that's the scary part, that we don't know what is going to happen. I'm one of those person who needs, I like facts and I like schedules. And so that is one of the scariest things, that we don't know. We may pass a tipping point, a point of no return, and start a chain reaction which trigger events beyond human control. And that is very scary, I think. And the scariest part is that we don't know.
Yeah. You decide to have a youth opportunity to be a group of youth people to make these strikes, but you also have a movement of adults. Why did you think that it was a good idea to mix the both of them, and you have just your youth for climate?
I don't understand. Do you mean that you have Youth for Climate and Fridays for Future?
No, I mean that you have also this movement of adults on the Sunday.
The Rise for Climate.
Yeah, also, I know also that you come.
Yeah, okay, because it's because we think we should skip school, and that's the most important part, and that's proven, because otherwise we wouldn't have sit here in the first place. And second of all, as Greta said, it's hypocrite to say to us that we need to go to school and to study, even maybe become a climate scientist, although they are all ignored right now. And also, you know, we really are studying without knowing what our future will look like, and that's not really motivating. So I think not striking would be more irresponsible than striking, because we are taking responsibility by striking and coming up for our future, and the politicians are not being responsible at all.
But my question was really, you could maybe take part of the adults movement, but you decide to do it by yourself and to create a youth movement.
Yeah, so we with Youth for Climate, we went to the other strikes as well on Sundays, but we keep going on weekdays, on Thursday and Friday, and even the 15th of March also will be on a Friday, because it's the strong message that we hold. But you know, the strikes that are going on Sundays are for more likely for adults, because they can just quit their jobs, which I get partially, but I think that is why it's so important that everybody will strike on the 15th of March, because that is a chance and an opportunity to show your support.
Yeah. I just wanted to add one thing.
right.
If we started striking on Thursdays, it's also because we were there on Sundays striking with the adults, and we felt like the adults and we weren't heard on Sundays. So we started this to strike on Thursdays because we don't feel heard on Sundays.
Yes, now there are students in Belgium who are being forced by their school to go to climate strikes. Isn't that just avoiding the message? What do you think about that?
I heard about one school who not really obligated them to do it, but more like, then, you know, they said like you really should go, and I think that school is right, but also, you know, you can't take the right of education away, which is fine, and people who want to go to school, they can go to school. So I don't think you need to obligate people, but it's really important that we all strike and that we keep going. Because a lot of people also say like, okay, you've made your point now, go to school again, but nothing has changed. So it's really important that we keep going. And you know, there are also schools who say like, when you go striking Thursday, you have 0 on all your tests, and you have to be in detention for like 6 hours. I know 3 schools who do that. And that is even more horrible, because then they don't get what education is about at all.
And I just wanted to,
Oh, sorry.
just wanted to add one thing. If schools want to support us, of course we cannot force students to go to the march. This is not our thinking, but if schools want to support us, like, please act in your, as teachers, tell and be aware of what is going on, and try to see if your students understand why we are marching and what is going on Earth.
Luisteren naar de voorlaatste vraag en de voorlaatste antwoord. Ze togen op 15 maart massaal te komen betogen met jullie, ook naar de eerdere begroting toe. Of is het enkel altijd gericht naar
Ja, nee, dus dat is heel de point ook van de 15e, dat echt iedereen meedoet. Alle generaties, alle journalisten. Maar je mag je camera meenemen. Maar echt wel iedereen. Dus ook de politiekers, ook de klimaatexperten. Iedereen moet die dag gewoon op straat komen en zeggen, I'm done. Because you're shitting on my future. Dus ik denk dat dat heel belangrijk is, dat iedereen dat wel weet. Ook de vakbonden, zoals zij ook hebben gezegd, en de studenten. En dus iedereen moet op straat komen die dag.
Het ging daar even over steun vanuit school. Jullie komen elke week op straat, maar jullie zijn ook echt in de kracht. Het lijkt me bijna een fulltime bezigheid voor sommigen van jullie. Hoe steunt de school jullie? Krijgen jullie er ook mee?
Again?
How do you combine school with this?
Okay, we just translated the question to me, but Is it okay if I answer in English or do you prefer Dutch? Personally, I think it's really hard, but we are all hard workers, and we hope that all students in the streets are also. But of course, it is a choice to face this challenge and to face our problem, because we are doing what politicians should be doing. So it is a job. It's like we're adding a new job to our life. But we are doing this to save everyone's life. So of course it is a lot to take, but it is worth it, we hope.
My name is Massimiliano from Italy. Are you scared that some political party, especially in this moment approaching the European election, that some party will put the hat of that party on your movement, on your side, so using your battle like a political one? And I have a second question, if I may. Do you consider today like a turning point of your battle? You all the attention you have now, the press you attract
here? If political parties use this movement for their policies, then go ahead. Just please act. We want to force any political party to make climate change a top priority, and that's really the only reason. And this is what we are continuing to do. So please go ahead, political parties out there, use this, but just act on climate. I think.
Yeah, I think so as well, and the fact that it's not going, as we are all saying, this generation will vote for climate. So if you want to be re-elected, you better have a good climate policy.
Maar er is ook heel veel inhoudelijk kritiek. Onder andere van de Wever, bijvoorbeeld in de stedelijke stoffen, die heel veel belastingen. Niet alleen als CEO's die de problemen veroorzaken, die ineens op de nieuwe omdraaien. Maar wat is jullie motivatie om te zeggen dat we niet onze steun niet bij onze schouders doen?
Ik denk dat het concept zelf, Sign for My Future, iets heel goed is. En natuurlijk de bedrijven en de CEO's die ook meegetekend hebben, wij verwachten daar ook wel van dat die dan echt wel erachter staan en ook wel hun maatregelen gaan nemen en niet gewoon het tekenen en verder doen met wat ze aan het doen zijn.
Het is kei belangrijk om in het climate issue iedereen te betrekken, en de bedrijven zijn daar een heel groot deel van, zeker de multinationals. Want het gaat zogezegd altijd over geldtekort. Dus ja. Dus ik denk dat Sign for My Future juist die bedrijven betrekt dat wij niet zouden kunnen doen. En door mensen af te stoten binnen in de klimaatbeweging gaat je niet verder komen. En wat wij met die bedrijven doen, dat is geen green card geven van hier kun je nu achter verschuilen en doen alsof dat je groen bent. Die hebben een bindende klimaatwet getekend. En die moeten binnen in hun bedrijf grote en drastische maatregelen gaan nemen. En dat is wat wij ook zeggen. En dat is ook heel de bedoeling van die movement. Dat ook eindelijk de grote bedrijven en het grote vermogen mee gaan nadenken over het ecologisch probleem.
Okay. We're almost done then. Okay.
As we all know, Greta Thunberg in the World Economic Forum in Davos, where the decision makers came with more than 1,000 private jets. And it's, I think, not the very best example they could show, because they were discussing about the future of the climate. So could you just tell us maybe some decision makers, countries or policies which you can show us as a good example for the others to follow?
Do you mean decision makers who are, or?
I think he means that the people who went to the Katowice top, they came with private jets.
Yeah, I know, but
Could you rephrase the question?
Point I would like to ask, does Greta know to name for the others, of course, any good examples of the climate policy, any countries, decision makers who could be an example to the others who are they're fighting against?
The simple answer to that is no. Anyone want to add?
Yeah, I see one sitting there, for example, but I think.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant decision makers in like countries.
Yeah, no, but like examples for the decision makers.
For the decision. Oh yeah. Yeah, you
can. So I think, as Greta always says, just listen to the experts because they know what they're talking about.
Yep.
We're going to have a few last questions and then wrap it up, okay? Un peu plus fort, parce que c'est vraiment dur de vous entendre.
Des syndicats.
Ce que je peux vous dire, c'est qu'on fait un appel.
Mais peut-être que vous savez mieux répondre en fait que moi.
Ben je crois que nous, en tant que jeunes et en tant que citoyens, en fait, on lance un appel aux syndicats de nous rejoindre, comme on lance un appel à toute la société de nous rejoindre. Je crois que c'est important pour les syndicats aussi de rejoindre cette bataille, car c'est une bataille pour notre futur. Et c'est certainement une bataille pour le futur des jeunes. Et pour nous, une politique climatique doit être sociale. Je crois que ça, c'est pour les syndicats quelque chose de très intéressant, car ces syndicats devraient être à nos côtés, ou seront à nos côtés, on espère, le 15 mars en tout cas, pour exiger une politique climatique ambitieuse et sociale.
Okay, well then, after the workers for the climate, the students for the climate, youth for climate, I'd like to thank press for the climate. That'd be a great idea. And great to have you all here. We're really, I think, happy with all the attention that these wonderful ladies have gotten and the applause that we had at the end, at the beginning. So why not have it at the end? One more time for Luisa, for Adelaide, Kyra, Anuna, and Greta.